All right. Yeah, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about what's been going on in the cryptocurrency sector. So I feel like a lot of people are very familiar with the run-up of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and they're not so familiar with what's been happening in the last year or so. So I've broken down this segment into three sections: what's been going on in 2018, what's been going on in 2019, and where we see things going in the future. So I think a lot, if you've been reading and you know news at all, you know that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general has lost a lot of its value, up to 80%, some cryptocurrencies 90% or more in 2018, basically. So what were some of the reasons for that happening? Well, the first major reason is that there were regulations implemented by major countries such as China, India, the US, UK, and the EU. So I'll talk a little bit about each of these. So in China, they prevented their, they banned ICOs in early 2017. India prevented any of the banks in their country from doing any transfers with cryptocurrency exchanges. The US, UK, and EU has all classified cryptocurrencies as not a currency, and so all of these regulations and have basically put has dampened the crypto market as a whole.
And in the US, UK, and EU, they've also said that ICOs generally are IPOs.
Yes,
they need to meet the securities regulations.
Yes, so there's been tightening regulations on what an ICO or IPO can be. In addition to those things, there's also been a lot of instability and volatility in the sector. So there have been hard forks. For example, the Bitcoin Cash fork in 2017 in August. We have Mt. Gox. So this was much earlier, but this still has a ripple effect throughout the sector. So basically, that was where the largest Bitcoin exchange at the time, which was based in Japan, they lost 850,000 Bitcoins, which at its peak was worth $1.7 trillion. So that had a huge effect on consumer confidence. In early 2018, we had BitConnect, one of the largest exchanges in the US, going down as well. And finally, we had CoinCheck in Japan getting hacked in early 2018. So all of these things put together created an air of instability and volatility. So that leads to the third point, where general negative sentiment kind of just snowballed. So in a similar vein to the run-up, whereas success compounded upon success, negativity kind of compounded upon negativity, and we saw things collapse down to 3,000, 4,000 pretty quickly. The final thing here I want to talk about is China's stance on cryptocurrencies. So they've basically disallowed their citizens from buying crypto. Obviously, if you're a bit tech savvy or wealthy, you could get around that, but their official stance is still, we don't want our citizens dealing with cryptocurrencies because of the risk of fraud. In addition to that, China provides 70% of the cryptocurrency mining power. And recently, within the last 2 or 3 weeks, there have been a lot of talk about China banning mining of cryptocurrencies. So there's a whole issue about supply. So that's another huge issue that led to the downturn of Bitcoin and in turn other cryptocurrencies, which they're all linked pretty closely right now. So that's where we were. So where are we right now? So in late 2018, early 2019, where are we right now? We have a lot of, so now that we have basically the regulations in place, things are a bit more stable. So people can understand the environment, people understand where things lie. So there's been an increased amount of institutional interest. For example, we have Ripple, and we also have the emergence of many stable coins. So those that are backed by fiat currency, such as Tether, TrueUSD, or Circle. So these have all helped.
Or at least Tether claims to be backed by fiat currency.
Yes, they claim to be backed by.
There's a little bit of an issue with them.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of an issue with them, but they have, for the most part, been relatively
stable. Yeah.
They've been stable. Whether or not they actually have the currency to back it up, nobody's officially checked, but they claim to have. They claim to have it. But all these things have helped the stability of crypto in general in 2018 and 2019. So we've also seen a lot of organic growth. So one of the things is that if we have a bubble, we generally aren't going to see another bubble in the same area, right? So if there's any growth to be had in cryptocurrency, it's going to be quite slow, quite gradual, quite natural. But
yet the enthusiastic promoters and true believers who find a point there seem to be saying this is going to go to a huge number. So there's predictions by some of a huge bubble.
There's
or they would say huge organic growth to a high number.
Yes. Well, there have been a lot of people have been describing like whether it's going to go to the moon or not. But
right.
I think if there's going to be a lot of growth, it has to come a bit slower this time. I mean, there has to be. I mean, in 2017, it was basically the wild, wild west. Things.
Right.
People didn't know how to regulate things. I'll give you a quick example about Uber. So when Uber came about, they had to deal with the taxis and the regulation for that. It was clear. It came from the transportation industry, right? Whoever was regulating the transportation industry would deal with Uber. Same with Airbnb. When Airbnb came about, and deal with hotels.
But it did take a couple of years before Uber really fell under those regulations, or Airbnb fell under those regulations fully. Yeah. So they were able to arbitrage the system early on.
Yeah. So my point here is that those two had clear regulatory frameworks among them, right? Yeah. Whereas when crypto came about, people were like, we don't really know. For example, one of the issues is that crypto is not necessarily just a security.
Right.
There are many different types of blockchain applications here. So, so how do you regulate it? That is, we're in like new waters here, basically. So that's
starting to mature now.
Yeah, it's starting to mature now. So now that we have a base, we have a bit more stability. So let's move on to where we are now. So to where we're going. So these, I'm not exactly sure where we're going to go, but I'm pretty sure about these three strong cases for the fundamental value of cryptocurrency. So these things have. So let's just go through these one by one. So first we have an efficient, low-cost transfer of capital between countries and currencies. So if I want to hop on a plane and go to another country, what I will do is I will search for local Bitcoin ATMs. And if they have those there, then I know I don't need to carry as much cash. I do not want to carry around a couple $1,000s in another currency. I mean, there's a whole lot of risk associated with that. Whereas if I have my Bitcoin, it'll be on my phone, it'll be encrypted, and it's safe.
And even if you want to transfer a small amount of capital, you can do that at very low cost. You can take a Filipino domestic helper.
Yes, that's
sending money back home. The transfer fees are enormous, and the banking fees as a percentage of the capital. If both sides had Bitcoin, which is a big if.
Yes,
big if. But if they did, then the cost is extraordinarily low for that intercurrency transfer.
Yeah, if you can do that, that's definitely a good thing. Moving on, we have so Bitcoin has been called digital gold for quite a while now, and that basically comes about because if we're talking about digital gold, I actually only think Bitcoin is eligible for that. I wouldn't really say other cryptocurrencies at the moment qualify.
I think there is one that claims to be backed by gold.
Okay.
So it's tethered to gold.
Tethered to gold, that could also work as well.
Yeah. So, but there are a variety that claim to be more or less stable, but certainly Bitcoin is one of the best, most elite, best known. Yeah.
So, and perhaps the original use of cryptocurrencies was as an underground mechanisms. So blackmail, extortion, drugs, such as things like that. Because of the nature of Bitcoin, because it's decentralized, because you can't really track the transactions, these type of things will still happen. For example, we've seen a lot of Bitcoin moving in and out of North Korea, for example. This will always happen. This is something that whether or not the regulator, no matter what they regulate, what they put in place, there will always be a certain element attracted to this because of
blackmail or extortion because of worms or viruses.
Yeah,
that
like exists as well. Yeah, computer viruses that say, okay, if you want to get your files back, you have to
pay this
Bitcoin.
money.
So now that we've talked a little bit about where we were, where we're going, what we're doing.
Good. So we'll turn time to questions and answers, just in general questions you guys have. And some of you sent some questions in ahead of time.